Hello readers! Today our selection is Sarah Plain and Tall by Patricia McLaughlin, illustrated by Alexandra Wallner. You'll see it says part 1. We're dividing this text into 2 parts for this lesson. And before we get reading, we're going to go ahead and preview a little bit about the setting of this story because it was set in the time of the pioneers. So let's take a look. Preview the topic, Pioneer Life. The pioneers were brave, independent people who left their homes in cities, villages, and farms in the east to move to the west. The western lands were mostly unknown. There were no roads to guide new settlers and no towns to welcome them. The pioneers risked great danger to move to the west. Once they found a place to settle, they had to be self-sufficient. They lived far from towns and from other settlers. Their courage is a quality that Americans still celebrate today. In Sarah Plain and Tall, you will read about the changes one of these pioneer families faces. Anna Whitting lives on a farm in the prairie with her father and her younger brother Caleb. Caleb likes to hear about Mama, who died soon after he was born and who loved to sing. One night, Papa tells the children he has put an advertisement in the newspaper for a wife. The neighbor's new wife, Maggie, had come in answer to an advertisement. Papa reads the letter he has received from Sarah, who lives with her brother near the sea in Maine. Papa, Anna, and Caleb write letters to Sarah. They find out that she has a cat named Seal and that she sings. Now Sarah is coming for a month's visit to see how it is. Sarah came in the spring. She came through green grass fields that bloomed with Indian paintbrush, red and orange, and blue-eyed grass. Papa got up early for the long day's trip to the train and back. He brushed his hair so slick and shiny that Caleb laughed. He wore a clean blue shirt and a belt instead of suspenders. He fed and watered the horses, talking to them as he hitched them up to the wagon. Old Bess, calm and kind. Jack, wild-eyed, reaching over to nip Bess on the neck. "Clear day, Bess," said Papa, rubbing her nose. "Settle down, Jack." He leaned his head on Jack. And then Papa drove off along the dirt road to fetch Sarah, Papa's new wife. Maybe our new mother. Gophers ran back and forth across the road, stopping to stand up and watch the wagon. Far off in the field, a woodchuck ate and listened. Caleb and I did our chores without talking. We shoveled out the stalls and laid down new hay. We fed the sheep. We swept and straightened and carried wood and water. And then our chores were done. Caleb pulled on my shirt. "Is my face clean?" he asked. "Can my face be too clean?" He looked alarmed. "No, your face is clean, but not too clean," I said. Caleb slipped his hand into mine and we stood on the porch watching the road. He was afraid. "Will she be nice?" he asked. "Like Maggie?" "Sarah will be nice," I told him. "How far away is Maine?" he asked. "You know how far. Far away by the sea." "Will Sarah bring some sea?" he asked. "No, you cannot bring the sea." The sheep ran in the field, and far off the cows moved slowly to the pond like turtles. "Will she like us?" asked Caleb very softly. I watched a marsh hawk wheel down behind the barn. He looked up at me. "Of course she will like us," he answered his own question. "We are nice," he added, making me smile. We waited and watched. I rocked on the porch, and Caleb rolled a marble on the wood floor, back and forth, back and forth. The marble was blue. We saw dust from the wagon first. rising above the road, above the heads of old Jack and old Bess. Caleb climbed up onto the porch roof and shaded his eyes. "A bonnet!" he cried. "I see a yellow bonnet!" The dogs came out from under the porch, ears up, their eyes on the cloud of dust bringing Sarah. The wagon passed the fenced field, and the cows and the sheep looked up too. It rounded the windmill and the barn and the windbreak of Russian olive that Mama had planted long ago. Nick began to bark, then Lottie, and the wagon clattered into the yard and stopped by the steps. "Hush," said Papa to the dogs, and it was quiet. Sarah stepped down from the wagon, a cloth bag in her hand. She reached up and took off her yellow bonnet, smoothing back her brown hair into a bun. She was plain and tall. "Did you bring some sea?" cried Caleb beside me. "Something from the sea," said Sarah, smiling. "And me." She turned and lifted a black case from the wagon. "And Seal, too." Carefully she opened the case, and Seal, gray with white feet, stepped out. Lottie lay down, her head on her paws, staring. Nick leaned down to sniff. Then he lay down too. "The cat will be good in the barn," said Papa, "for mice." Sarah smiled. "She will be good in the house too." Sarah took Caleb's hand, then mine. Her hands were large and rough. She gave Caleb a shell, a moon snail, she called it, that was curled and smelled of salt. "The gulls fly high and drop the shells on the rocks below," she told Caleb. "When the shell is broken, they eat what's inside." "That is very smart," said Caleb. "For you, Anna," said Sarah, "a sea stone." And she gave me the smoothest and whitest stone I had ever seen. The sea washes over and over and around the stone, rolling it until it is round and perfect. "That is very smart too," said Caleb. He looked up at Sarah. "We do not have the sea here." Sarah turned and looked out over the plains. "No," she said, "there is no sea here, but the land rolls a little like the sea." My father did not see her look, but I did, and I knew that Caleb had seen it too. Sarah was not smiling. Sarah was already lonely. In a month's time, the preacher might come to marry Sarah and Papa, and a month was a long time enough for her to change her mind and leave us.